Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Alison Coe, Brendan Mahoney, and Dr. Wayne Buckhanan. And I would like to talk about how you say no after you already said yes. Alison, kick us off.
I love this question because it's something I struggle with every day. For me, it comes down to context. I think it's easier to change your mind when it comes to family and friends and social obligations, but it becomes challenging when you're in a professional situation and you've already committed to, let's say, a project or a task, but you find that you just can't complete it for whatever reason. So for me, it's something I work on every day to be able to set those boundaries and expectations. I think in order to say no, you have to be very transparent and honest with whomever is making the request. It comes down to making sure that if you say no, that they have a workaround, or they have another way to get it completed, whether it's tapping another colleague or saying no, but maybe another time. No, not right now, but maybe next week. So I think there needs to be a follow-up if you're going to be saying no after having already committed to saying yes.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And there's so many variables that come into play when you're in that situation. Is it because of, is it a work situation? Is it a personal family situation? To me, I always go back to just be honest, be transparent. What's the real reason? And maybe it's a no for right now, but maybe you just need to push the deadline out because you've had competing priorities come up. I know when I say yes to, I like to say yes to projects with work. I tend to say yes too often. And if something else comes up that I have to be on, I have to work with, even though I have to say no to the other project, I'm happy to say, hey, you know what, my counterpart, my colleague might be able to assist, and they're actually probably better at this than I am. A little bit more challenging when it comes to personal friend situations. But to me, I always fall back to just be honest, you know.
And it's great hearing the rescheduling piece, because I went with, immediately it's like these huge things, but even on small things, yes, I'll meet with you at 12:30. Oh, something came up. Can we reschedule? Is that okay? Is that work for you? It's not even a no, it's a things have changed. Got to shift that. I am chagrined to realize how well the passive aggressive strategy has served me over the years of, don't put off till tomorrow what you can put off indefinitely and just let it go away. And, it's uncomfortably effective. Nobody wants that to work, but it often does.
Which is unfortunate because, for me, if someone has to change or reschedule or say no, tell me as soon as you know. Don't feel guilty or bad or whatever and wait until like it's an emergency, or ignore me and it's just like, okay, I guess they're not coming. Like, just tell me. I'm a grown-up. I promise I'm not going to like eat you through the computer or something. I'm not going to bite.
It's taken me a long time to get out of the habit of I'm going to wait until I have something to say about the situation. Right? I'm working. I'm not making the progress I need to be making. So I'm going to be quiet until I have something to tell you. Not always helpful. So yes, getting into that new habit of, all right, here's the situation. It's not what we wanted, but it is what it is.
And I think that's the hardest part is making the decision. Okay, I have to now say no, rather than, well, maybe I don't have to yet.
Already started the project and you're kind of in the stride, but then you hit a roadblock. When do you raise your hand? When do you say something's at risk? And I think, it takes a lot of diligence and experience to say, it's okay to say I'm struggling, or that I'm just not going to meet the deadline. You're all human, you're all busy, you're all trying to do your best. And I think if you keep that in mind and you trust the intent of the person, then you shouldn't have any fear or reservations about saying, you know what, I need support here.
What about the judgment that comes from, making a commitment and then breaking it? Like for me, if you do it once and there's like, it's reasonable, fine, whatever. But if you do it repeatedly, eventually I'm just going to be like, I'm not scheduling with you. You don't show up.
Well, I think at that point, it comes down to what is it that you're agreeing to? If you're agreeing, hey, I'm gonna show up to this place at this time, and you're canceling that over and over again, I think that's definitely okay, well, I'm gonna stop inviting you. You're no longer gonna be a part of this. If it's a situation where, you've worked with the individual a number of times, you're on a series of projects with them, I think it becomes more acceptable to say no, because it's particularly in the professional world, everyone gets busy. Everyone has different things that they're taking their attention from family life to work life. I think it's more acceptable to occasionally have to say, you know what, I have too many things on my plate right now. I unfortunately can't do this. I really think it comes down to what is being asked of the individual, and also how they say no to it.
Yeah, for me, I think it took a long time for me to get comfortable saying no, because I'm a people pleaser. And certainly earlier in my career, I wanted to prove myself and make sure that I wasn't dropping the ball, or that I wasn't showing weakness by saying I can't do this. So it comes with experience and having said no a number of times and realizing there isn't a consequence waiting for me by doing that. And it's a relief. It's a growth opportunity for anyone who struggles that way, to just test the waters and see, can I say no, and how does that make me feel? Is there relief, or is this really going against my core values? And then you have to figure out, why am I saying no? Is it a real reason, or is it fear?
And I'm glad to hear that question of judgment being addressed both from the person who is having to now say no after having said yes, as well as the person receiving the no after having gotten a yes. I think both roles have that layer of, generally we are hesitant to come back with that no because of our own internal judgment. And if we can dampen that a bit, and whatever the other person does is what they do, and maybe they'll stop asking us to do things that we don't want to do in the first place.
Possible. The other thing, I guess, that is the easiest way to not have to say no after you've said yes is not say yes to things up front. And one thing that I like to remind my clients is to watch out for those ambush conversations. The one when somebody grabs you when you're not really prepared, and rather than taking the time to think it through, you just say, oh yeah, I can do that. I know for me, helping my friends move when I was younger, that was a thing I would always get roped into, and I'd be like, why do I say yes to that? But it's because they call you up and they're like, hey, I'm moving. Do you have time? Or they'll say, are you available? And you think they're going to do something fun, and then they're like moving. So watching out for those ambush conversations, I think, is a great way to not have to say no after you've said yes.
Or just having a policy to say, I'm not going to get back to you for another day. I'm going to sleep on it. That was one thing that a high school art teacher taught me, is if you have this impulse to respond, stop yourself and sleep on it, because then you're going to have the real response you were looking for, having thought about it for some time.
Yeah. It has a conversation has been progressing. One thing I keep thinking about is, what is your reason for saying no? If you're saying no because it's going to be to the benefit of the person who's been asking you, if you're being asked to join a conversation because you have a level of expertise that they want to take advantage of, and you're saying no because you really don't feel like you're the right person for that, well, that's to the benefit of them. If you have a friend who are like, you're in a relationship, for example, and they want to have a serious conversation with you, and they're like, hey, when you get home from work, like, I want to talk to you about X. You might not be in the right mindset, and it might not be beneficial for either of you to have that conversation just at that moment. So I think it makes it easier, at least in my perspective, if I'm saying no because I know it's not going to be helpful for me or for the individual who asked me.
So I'm wondering, like, how do you, when you have that realization, wait, I said yes to this, and now I'm not really the right person, does that mean that you provide them with, hey, I think so-and-so would be better? Or did you just say, I'm not the right person? And if they think you are, is there imposter syndrome in there?
For me, I always make sure that I have a direction for them if I'm not the right person. So I will do the extra step to find out who is the right person, or at least someone who would know who the right person is. I don't think for me it's imposter syndrome, especially since you're doing them a service, and they're probably going to benefit, to Brandon's point, they're going to benefit by you giving them that guidance. Whether you're the person who's the expert or not, you've still helped them in some way.
Well, that is our 10 minutes. Thank you for having this conversation with me about saying no after saying yes. It has been very enlightening. I appreciate it. I look forward to the next one.